Hannah Porter smoothed her navy dress for the 10th time and checked her watch again. 35 minutes late, she sighed and signaled the waiter for another sparkling water. This was exactly why she had sworn off dating apps 6 months ago, yet here she was, victim once more to her best friend Megan's persistent matchmaking. Just one more try, Megan had begged. This guy is different, successful, kind, and he has an interesting backstory, plus his profile picture is gorgeous. The upscale Manhattan restaurant buzzed with Friday evening energy. Couples leaning close over candlelight, business associates clinking glasses, servers gliding between tables with practiced precision. Hannah felt increasingly conspicuous at her table for two, her dinner companion's absence like a neon sign above her head. Stood up again. She took a small sip of water and pulled out her phone, typing a quick message to Megan. Your perfect match is a no-show, leaving in 5. As an elementary school art teacher, Hannah had papers to grade and a weekend curriculum to plan. She didn't have time for disappointments. Just as she reached for her purse, a commotion near the entrance caught her attention. 2 identical little girls in matching powder blue dresses darted through the restaurant, weaving between tables with the nimble confidence of children accustomed to charming their way out of trouble. Their dark curls bounced as they ran, identical faces alight with mischief and purpose. Behind them hurried a frazzled-looking woman in a pantsuit, calling out in hushed, urgent tones, "Sophia! Amelia! Come back here this instant!" The restaurant host rushed forward, but the twins had already spotted Hannah. They made a beeline for her table, their patent leather shoes clicking across the polished floor. Hannah straightened, momentarily confused as the identical faces appeared before her, bright blue eyes studying her with unsettling intensity. "Are you Miss Hannah?" one of them asked, her voice clear and articulate for a child so young. Before Hannah could answer, the second twin leaned forward, placing small hands on the white tablecloth. "Are you going to be our new mum?" The question hung in the air like suspended crystal. Hannah's mouth fell open, words failing her completely. The pantsuited woman finally caught up, her expression mortified. "I am so incredibly sorry," she said, placing a hand on each child's shoulder. "Girls, this is completely inappropriate. We've talked about this." "But Patricia," one twin protested. "Daddy said he was meeting a special lady for dinner, and he showed us her picture. It looks just like her." She pointed directly at Hannah. "And Daddy said we could meet her soon if everything went well," the other twin added with a solemn nod. "We just wanted to see her first." Patricia's face flushed crimson. "Miss Porter, I presume. I'm Patricia Walsh, the twins' nanny. Mr. Bennett was unexpectedly detained at a board meeting. He asked me to convey his sincere apologies and see if you might be willing to reschedule." Hannah's mind raced to catch up. Mr. Bennett, Jason Bennett, her blind date, was not only late but apparently had children, twin daughters, something Megan had conveniently failed to mention. Hannah began, but was interrupted by the arrival of her would-be date's children climbing onto the empty chair across from her. "I'm Sophia," said one twin, settling onto one half of the chair. "And I'm Amelia," said the other, squeezing beside her sister. "We're 7 years old." "Girls," Patricia hissed, "we are not staying. Miss Porter hasn't even agreed to reschedule with your father yet." Hannah found her voice at last. It's nice to meet you both. And you, Patricia." She looked at the nanny, whose professional demeanor barely concealed her embarrassment. "I wasn't aware Mr. Bennett had children." Patricia's expression shifted subtly. "Mr. Bennett has full custody of the girls since their mother passed away 3 years ago. He's selective about who he introduces to Sophia and Amelia. Which means we get to help pick," Sophia announced proudly. "The last lady ran away when we put a frog in her purse," Amelia added, with a mischievous grin. She screamed really loud. Patricia closed her eyes briefly as if praying for strength. "Girls, please." Hannah couldn't help the small laugh that escaped her. She had taught enough 7-year-olds to recognize testing behavior when she saw it. These two were clearly protective of their father, and quite strategic about it. "I'm afraid we've disturbed your evening," Patricia said. "If you'd like Mr. Bennett's contact information to discuss rescheduling, I can provide it." "Otherwise, we completely understand." Hannah hesitated. Her initial instinct was to decline, thank the woman, and leave. Single motherhood had never figured into her dating plans, let alone instant motherhood to twin 7-year-olds. Yet something about the girls' bright, intelligent faces gave her pause. "Do you like art?" Hannah found herself asking. "I teach art at Westside Elementary." The twins' eyes widened simultaneously. "We love art," Amelia exclaimed. Daddy built us a whole art studio at home, Sophia added, with real paints and everything. An art studio, Hannah echoed, genuinely surprised. Most parents she knew struggled to tolerate finger paints at the kitchen table. Patricia's expression softened. Mr. Bennett converted one of the rooms in their home. He believes strongly in encouraging the girls' creativity. A text chimed on Hannah's phone. Megan, please tell me you're still there. Jason just texted me that he's running late. Board meeting emergency. He sounds really upset about keeping you waiting. Hannah looked from the message to the twins, who were now leaning across the table to peek at her phone case, a Van Gogh Starry Night design she'd special ordered. That's Daddy's favorite painting, Sophia whispered, as if sharing a profound secret. He has the real one. Not the real one, Patricia corrected gently. A very good reproduction. It's in his office, Amelia confided. He says it reminds him that even the darkest nights have stars. Something fluttered in Hannah's chest, a feeling she couldn't quite name. She should be annoyed, even angry, yet instead, she found herself curious about the man who built an art studio for his daughters and appreciated Van Gogh. Patricia, Hannah said finally, please tell Mr. Bennett that I understand emergencies happen. I'd be open to rescheduling. She hesitated, then added with a small smile toward the twins, though perhaps next time we could meet somewhere more child-friendly. The twins' faces lit up with matching grins. Like the zoo? Sophia suggested eagerly. Or the Children's Museum, Amelia countered. Girls, Miss Porter hasn't agreed to meet all of us, Patricia cautioned. She was referring to meeting your father. Actually, Hannah said, surprising herself, I wouldn't mind meeting somewhere the girls could join us. At least for part of the time. After all, they were clearly a package deal. Suddenly, Patricia's phone buzzed. She checked it, and her eyebrows rose. It's Mr. Bennett. He's just pulling up outside. The twins immediately scrambled off the chair, their excitement palpable. Hannah felt a strange flutter of nerves. What had she just agreed to? Daddy's really handsome, Amelia informed her seriously. And rich, Sophia added. Like, super rich. He has his own helicopter. Girls, Patricia scolded, though Hannah caught the slight curve of amusement on the nanny's lips. It's true, Sophia insisted. Daddy says we shouldn't talk about money, but everyone knows anyway. Hannah's momentary confidence wavered. Helicopter rich. What had Megan gotten her into? Before she could reconsider, a tall figure appeared at the restaurant entrance. Even from a distance, Hannah recognized him from his profile picture. Dark hair, broad shoulders, classically handsome features. The maitre d' was gesturing toward their table, and Jason Bennett's eyes found hers across the crowded restaurant, and in that moment, as he began walking toward her with an expression of mingled apology and hope, Hannah realized she was about to find out if fairy tales sometimes started with twin little matchmakers and a very late blind date. Jason Bennett approached their table with the confident stride of a man accustomed to entering rooms where everyone knew his name. Up close, his features were even more striking than in his dating profile picture. Strong jawline, intense brown eyes and dark hair, with just a touch of silver at the temples. He wore an expertly tailored suit that suggested money without flaunting it. Hannah, he said, his deep voice carrying a note of genuine apology. I'm Jason. I'm incredibly sorry for keeping you waiting. Before Hannah could respond, the twins launched themselves at their father. He caught them with practiced ease, as if this was their standard greeting, momentarily transforming from polished executive to doting dad. We found her, Daddy, Sophia announced. She likes art just like you, Amelia added importantly. Jason's eyes widened slightly as he glanced from his daughters to Patricia, comprehension dawning. I see you've already met the welcoming committee. He set the girls down gently and extended his hand to Hannah. I hope they haven't scared you off entirely. Hannah accepted his handshake, noting the warmth of his palm against hers. They're quite persuasive advocates, actually. They can also be little troublemakers when they put their minds to it, he said, giving the twins a pointed look that held more affection than admonishment. Did you two escape from Patricia again? We didn't escape, Sophia protested. We strategically relocated, Amelia clarified with impressive vocabulary for a 7-year-old. Jason's laugh was genuine and warm. He turned to Patricia. Thank you for corralling them. Would you mind taking them home? I've kept Miss Porter waiting long enough, and I'd like to salvage what's left of our evening if she's willing. Patricia nodded, gathering the twins' small purses. Come along, girls. Your father and Miss Porter need adult time. The twins exchanged a look that Hannah immediately recognized as silent twin communication. After a moment of apparent deliberation, they both turned to her. "Will you come see our art studio sometime?" Sophia asked. "We could show you our paintings," Amelia added. Hannah felt Jason's gaze on her face, watching for her reaction. She smiled at the girls. "That sounds lovely. Maybe someday." This seemed to satisfy them, and they allowed Patricia to lead them away, though not without dramatic backward waves and blown kisses. Jason watched them go with unmistakable pride in his eyes before turning back to Hannah. "I apologize again for being late, and now for the ambush," he said, taking the seat across from her. "The board meeting ran over, and then my phone died. By the time I could charge it enough to function, I had 6 missed calls from Patricia." "It happens," Hannah replied, though in her experience it typically didn't happen with emergency board meetings and nannies. Her past dates' excuses usually involved forgotten Metro cards or Netflix binges that ran too long. "I appreciate your understanding," Jason said, signaling for the waiter, "and your patience with Sophia and Amelia. They're—" he paused, searching for the right word. "Enthusiastic. They're delightful," Hannah said honestly, "though they did mention something about putting a frog in someone's purse." Jason winced, then laughed. "Ah yes, the infamous frog incident. In their defense, it was only a small frog, and to be fair, Melissa had told them she absolutely adored all animals. They were just testing her statement. Scientific method at work," Hannah observed with a smile. "Exactly," Jason replied, looking both surprised and pleased at her understanding. "They're extremely bright, sometimes terrifyingly so." After they ordered, Jason apologizing again for making her wait so long for dinner, a momentary silence fell between them. Hannah used the opportunity to study him more closely. Despite his obvious wealth and status, there was something approachable about him. The way he spoke about his daughters revealed a man who prioritized fatherhood over his corporate identity. "So," Jason said, leaning forward slightly, "Megan tells me you're an art teacher." The girls were clearly excited about that. "I teach elementary school art," Hannah confirmed. "I've been at Westside for 6 years now. You must have incredible patience." "Some days more than others," she admitted. "But there's nothing quite like watching a child discover they can create something beautiful." Jason's expression shifted, softening around the edges. "That's exactly how I feel watching Sophia and Amelia. They see the world so differently. Every day it's something new." The conversation flowed more easily than Hannah had expected. Jason asked thoughtful questions about her work, genuinely interested in her teaching philosophy. When their food arrived, he told her about the engineering firm he'd built from the ground up, now a major player in sustainable building technologies. He spoke with passion about creating environmentally responsible structures without the arrogance she might have expected from someone in his position. "And what about the helicopter?" Hannah asked, unable to resist. The girls mentioned it. Jason chuckled, looking slightly embarrassed. "Ah, they would bring that up. Yes, there is a helicopter. I use it primarily for commuting to our offices upstate and visiting project sites. The girls find it endlessly fascinating." "I imagine most children would," Hannah replied, trying to reconcile this helicopter-owning billionaire with the down-to-earth father sitting across from her. "They love coming with me to sites sometimes," he continued. "Sophia has already decided she's going to be an architect. Amelia is leaning towards structural engineering. They may change their minds 100 times before college, but I love that they're interested," Hannah smiled. "My parents were both accountants. They gave me art supplies to keep me quiet during tax season. I don't think they expected it to become my career." "Are they supportive now?" "In their way," Hannah said carefully. "They worry about practical things, health insurance, retirement savings, the stability I didn't prioritize." "The eternal parental concern," Jason agreed, "though I probably worry more than most. After losing Claire, their mother, I've become—" He trailed off, and Hannah saw a flash of vulnerability cross his features. "Overprotective?" she offered gently. "That's putting it kindly," he admitted. "My security team would use stronger language, as would Patricia." The mention of a security team gave Hannah pause. Of course, a man of his wealth would have protection, especially with young children, but it was another reminder of how different their worlds were. "How did you and Megan meet?" she asked, deliberately changing the subject. "She never actually told me." Jason's expression shifted. "Ah, well, that's an interesting story. My company is developing a new eco-friendly materials lab at the university where Megan works. We met during the planning phase. She's quite persuasive when she wants something. Like setting up blind dates." "Exactly like that," he agreed with a rueful smile. She mentioned having a friend who was creative, passionate about education, and, her words, stubbornly single despite being a total catch. Hannah felt her cheeks warm. That sounds like Megan's subtle approach. She showed me your picture, Jason admitted. I don't normally do blind dates either, but he paused, meeting her eyes directly. I was intrigued. Something in his gaze made Hannah's pulse quicken. She took a sip of water to collect herself. Enough to let your daughters pre-screen me, apparently. His smile faded. I didn't actually tell them much about tonight. They're surprisingly resourceful when they want information. Patricia mentioned they got into my phone earlier today. Ah, Hannah nodded, hence the surprise interrogation. I'm truly sorry about that, he said. Since Claire died, they've been involved. In my personal life, probably more than they should be. It must be difficult, Hannah said, thinking of the motherless twins with their bright eyes and mischievous smiles, for all of you. Jason nodded, something unreadable crossing his expression. More than I usually admit. The girls were only 4 when it happened. A car accident. Some days it feels like we've come so far. Other days... Hannah reached across the table on impulse, briefly touching his hand. They seem like wonderful, well-adjusted children. That says a lot about you as a father. His eyes met hers, surprise and gratitude mingling in his gaze. For a moment, neither spoke, a current of understanding passing between them. The waiter arrived to clear their plates, breaking the moment. Jason ordered coffee for both of them, and as the evening continued, Hannah found herself increasingly drawn to this complex man, part corporate titan, part devoted father, part grieving widower still finding his way. When the check came, Jason insisted on paying despite Hannah's protest. Please, he said. Given how the evening started, it's the least I can do. Outside the restaurant, the spring evening had turned cool. Jason's driver waited at the curb in a sleek black car. May I give you a ride home? He asked. Hannah hesitated. I live in Brooklyn, it's probably out of your way. Not at all, he assured her. Then, with a hint of vulnerability that seemed genuine, unless you'd rather call it a night. I'd completely understand. Hannah considered the comfortable silence they'd established, the easy conversation, the way he talked about his daughters with such love. Despite the rocky start and the vast differences in their lives, she wasn't ready for the evening to end. A ride would be nice, she decided. Thank you. As they settled into the back seat of the luxury sedan, Jason turned to her. I'm hoping you might consider seeing me again, perhaps this weekend. The girls mentioned something about the Children's Museum. Hannah raised an eyebrow. You don't waste time, do you? Life's taught me not to, he said simply. When you find something promising, you pursue it. The directness of his gaze made her heart flutter unexpectedly. Hannah Porter, who prided herself on practical decisions and careful planning, found herself nodding. The Children's Museum sounds perfect, she said, as long as there are no frogs in my future. Jason's laugh filled the car. I make no guarantees when it comes to those two, but I promise to check all purses before we leave the house. As the car glided through Manhattan's glittering streets toward Brooklyn, Hannah wondered if she was making a rash decision. Yet somehow, the thought of seeing Jason again, and his precocious daughters, felt strangely right, like the beginning of something both terrifying and wonderful. Saturday morning arrived with surprising speed. Hannah spent extra time choosing her outfit, casual enough for a children's museum, but nice enough to suggest she'd made an effort. She settled on dark jeans, a soft emerald blouse that brought out the green flecks in her hazel eyes, and comfortable flats suitable for a day of walking. As she waited on her Brooklyn stoop, Hannah's phone buzzed with a text from Megan. Details! How was the date? Why haven't you called me? Hannah smiled and typed back. Meeting him and the twins at the Children's Museum today. We'll call later. 3 dots appeared immediately, then, twins? What twins? Jason has kids? Hannah's fingers froze over the screen. If Megan hadn't known about the twins, who exactly had arranged this blind date? Before she could respond, a familiar black car pulled up to the curb. The rear window rolled down to reveal Jason's smiling face. Good morning, he called. Hope we're not late. Right on time, Hannah replied, tucking her phone away and approaching the car. The mystery of Megan's ignorance would have to wait. The driver opened the door and Hannah slid into the back seat, to find not just Jason but both twins, buckled into booster seats and practically vibrating with excitement. Miss Hannah, they chorused in unison. You look pretty, Sophia declared. Green is Daddy's favorite color, Amelia added with a meaningful look at her father. Jason cleared his throat. Good morning, Hannah. Thanks for joining us today. Hannah noticed he looked different in casual clothes, dark jeans, a light blue button-down with rolled sleeves, and expensive but understated loafers. More approachable somehow. "We made something for you," Sophia announced, handing Hannah a folded piece of paper. It was a hand-drawn card, decorated with watercolors in swirling patterns reminiscent of Starry Night. Inside, in careful child's handwriting, "Welcome to our museum adventure. Love, Sophia and Amelia." "This is beautiful," Hannah said, genuinely touched. "Thank you both." "We used the wet-on-wet technique," Amelia explained importantly, "for the background flow." "Very professional," Hannah agreed, impressed by their artistic vocabulary. Jason caught her eye and smiled. They've been up since 5 a.m. working on it. The Children's Museum was bustling with weekend activity, but Jason had arranged for special access passes that allowed them to bypass the main lines. Hannah noticed how smoothly he navigated the space, always keeping the twins in sight without hovering, greeting several staff members by name. "You come here often?" she asked, as the girls ran ahead to the interactive water table exhibit. "At least once a month," Jason replied. "It's one of our regular spots. The girls love the art studio here." As if on cue, Sophia called out, "Daddy, Miss Hannah, come see what we're making." The day unfolded with surprising ease. Hannah found herself alternately laughing at the twins' antics and engaged in comfortable conversation with Jason. She taught the girls a new watercolor technique in the art studio, delighted by their focused concentration. Jason stood back, watching with an expression that made Hannah's cheeks warm when she caught his gaze. During lunch in the museum cafe, the twins peppered Hannah with questions about her classroom, her apartment, and whether she had any pets. "I have a cat named Vincent," she told them, "after Van Gogh." "Can we meet him?" Sophia asked eagerly. "Maybe someday," Hannah replied, carefully non-committal. "Do you have a boyfriend?" Amelia asked bluntly. Jason choked slightly on his water. "Amelia, that's not an appropriate question." "But Patricia said we should make sure she's not seeing anyone else," Amelia protested. "I definitely did not tell you to ask that," came Patricia's voice. Hannah turned to find the nanny approaching their table with a tray of ice cream. Hannah hadn't realized Patricia was at the museum, though it made sense given Jason's wealth and position. The nanny had been keeping a discreet distance, allowing them family-like time while remaining available if needed. "I don't have a boyfriend," Hannah answered Amelia directly, deciding honesty was best. "I haven't dated anyone seriously in quite a while." "Why not?" Sophia asked with a 7-year-old's directness. Hannah considered her answer carefully. "I've been focused on my teaching and my art, and I was waiting to meet the right person." She felt Jason's gaze on her, but didn't look his way. After lunch, they visited the planetary exhibit, where the twins demonstrated impressive knowledge of the solar system. As they stood in a darkened room beneath projected stars, Jason's hand brushed against Hannah's, perhaps accidentally, perhaps not. When she didn't move away, his fingers interlaced with hers, warm and secure. It felt strangely right standing there with him under artificial stars, while the twins pointed out constellations with enthusiasm. Later, as they prepared to leave, the girls insisted on one last stop at the gift shop. While they deliberated over souvenirs with Patricia, Jason turned to Hannah. "Thank you for today," he said quietly. "It's been wonderful watching you with them." "They're amazing kids," she replied honestly. "They like you," he observed. "That's significant. They haven't warmed to anyone I've dated since Claire died." Hannah felt a flutter of nervousness. "We've only had one dinner and a museum visit. I wouldn't exactly call that dating yet." Jason's expression grew serious. "I don't do this casually, Hannah, not with the girls involved." He hesitated. "I know it's a lot, my life, my circumstances, but I'd like to see you again. Just us this time." Before Hannah could respond, her phone buzzed insistently, Megan calling. She silenced it, but the interruption had broken the moment. "Everything okay?" Jason asked. "Just Megan. She's been texting all day." Jason's expression flickered. "About us?" "She seems surprised that you have children," Hannah said carefully, watching his reaction. A shadow crossed his face. "That's strange, considering she's the one who suggested I meet you." The twins returned, proudly clutching small telescopes, temporarily postponing further discussion. On the ride back to Brooklyn, Hannah's mind raced with questions. If Megan hadn't known about the twins, who had arranged this match? And why would Jason lie about how they'd connected? As they pulled up to her apartment, Jason asked the girls to wait in the car with Patricia for a moment. He walked Hannah to her door. About what you said earlier, he began. Regarding Megan not knowing about the twins, it's probably just a misunderstanding, Hannah interrupted, not wanting to create tension. Jason shook his head. No, it's important we're clear. The truth is, I didn't meet you through Megan directly. My assistant works with her at the university. When he mentioned I was finally considering dating again, Megan apparently showed him your picture and suggested we might be compatible. So you've never actually met Megan? Not in person, he admitted. I should have been more straightforward about that. I was afraid it might seem strange, getting set up through such a roundabout connection. Hannah considered this. It made sense, and yet, why would your assistant be discussing your dating life with a university administrator? Something flickered in Jason's eyes. Robert's been with me for years. He knows how isolated I've been since Claire died. He worries. It seemed plausible, yet Hannah couldn't shake a feeling of unease. She was missing something. Would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow night? Jason asked, changing the subject. Just the two of us. I'd like the chance to know you better without little interrupters. Despite her lingering questions, Hannah found herself nodding. I'd like that. His smile was warm and genuine. I'll send the car at 7. After he left, Hannah finally returned Megan's increasingly frantic calls. What twins? Megan demanded immediately. Jason Bennett has children? How did I not know this? You didn't set us up directly, Hannah explained. Apparently his assistant Robert works with you. He made the connection. A long pause followed. Hannah, Megan said slowly, I don't know any Robert. The only connection I have to Jason Bennett is that I interviewed him for the alumni magazine last month. He mentioned being widowed, but never said anything about children. Hannah's blood ran cold. But you told me you thought we'd be perfect together, that he was kind and had an interesting backstory. I did think you'd be perfect together after interviewing him, Megan confirmed, but I never acted on it. I certainly never showed your picture to anyone or suggested you as a potential date. Hannah sank onto her sofa, mind racing. Then who set us up? And why would Jason lie? I don't know, Megan replied, sounding worried. But be careful, Hannah. Something doesn't add up. After hanging up, Hannah sat in stunned silence. Her teacher's instinct for detecting untruths had been triggered, but to what end? Was Jason Bennett, billionaire and devoted father, hiding something sinister? Or was there a more innocent explanation? Her doorbell rang, startling her. When she checked the peephole, she was surprised to see Patricia standing there alone. May I come in? The nanny asked, when Hannah opened the door. There's something you need to know about Jason and the girls. Hannah's heart pounded as she stepped aside to let Patricia enter. The nanny's expression was grave as she took a seat on Hannah's worn couch. Mr. Bennett doesn't know I'm here, Patricia began, and he would be furious if he found out. But after seeing you with the girls today, I can't in good conscience let this continue without you knowing the truth. What truth? Hannah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Patricia met her eyes directly. The story about how you and Jason were connected. It wasn't a miscommunication or misunderstanding. It was deliberately orchestrated. By who? By the twins, Patricia said. Sophia and Amelia saw your picture in the alumni magazine with the article about the school's art program. They decided you were perfect for their father and, well, they're remarkably resourceful when motivated. Hannah stared in disbelief. You're saying 7-year-old girls engineered a blind date between their father and me? With some unwitting assistance from Robert, yes, Patricia confirmed. Jason had no idea until yesterday when he found your contact information in his phone and questioned how it got there. So he knew before our date that it was the girls' doing. Hannah felt a mixture of confusion and relief. Patricia nodded. He found out just before the board meeting. That's partly why he was late. He was deciding whether to cancel or go through with it. He chose to meet you, but he was going to explain everything over dinner. Then the twins showed up, Hannah realized. Precisely. They weren't supposed to be there at all. We were at their grandmother's when they slipped away. By the time Jason could explain, you'd already met the girls and things were complicated. Hannah processed this information slowly. So Jason isn't some kind of stalker or lying about his identity? Patricia actually laughed. No, nothing like that. He's exactly who he seems to be. A widowed father who hasn't dated in years, completely blindsided by his daughter's matchmaking scheme. Why are you telling me this now? Patricia's expression grew serious again. Because he's calling you tonight to cancel tomorrow's dinner. He believes this relationship began under false pretenses and that it wouldn't be fair to continue. That's ridiculous, Hannah said, surprising herself with the vehemence in her voice. It's not as if he engineered the deception. That's what I told him, Patricia agreed. But Jason has trust issues since Claire died. The circumstances were complicated. What circumstances? Patricia hesitated. That's not my story to tell, but I will say this. I've worked for the Bennett family for 8 years. I've never seen the twins respond to anyone the way they responded to you today, and I haven't seen Jason smile like that in 3 years. She stood to leave, placing a business card on Hannah's coffee table. This is Jason's private number. If you want to hear the full story from him, I suggest you call before he convinces himself to walk away. After Patricia left, Hannah sat staring at the card. The entire situation was bizarre. Twin matchmakers, mysterious misrepresentations, a billionaire with trust issues. Yet, despite everything, she couldn't deny the connection she'd felt with Jason, or the genuine delight she'd taken in the twins' company. Taking a deep breath, she picked up the card and dialed the number before she could talk herself out of it. Jason answered on the third ring, his voice cautious. "Hannah, how did you get this number?" "Patricia paid me a visit," Hannah replied, deciding directness was best. "She told me about the twins' matchmaking scheme." A heavy silence followed. "I was going to call you tonight to explain everything," he finally said, "and to apologize for the deception, unintentional as it was on my part." "I'd rather hear the explanation in person," Hannah said. "Are you still planning to cancel tomorrow's dinner?" Another pause. "I thought you'd be angry once you knew the truth." "I'm not angry, Jason. Confused, yes. A little overwhelmed by the situation, definitely. But not angry." "You should be," he insisted. "This whole thing started with a lie." "A lie told by 7-year-olds who want their father to be happy," Hannah countered. "That seems more sweet than sinister to me." She heard him exhale slowly. "There's more to the story. Things you should know before we go any further." "Then tell me tomorrow, over dinner, as planned." When he spoke again, Hannah could hear the smile in his voice. "You're remarkably understanding about all this." "I'm an elementary school teacher," she reminded him. "I deal with creative storytellers every day, though I'll admit Sophia and Amelia take it to another level." "You have no idea," Jason said with a soft laugh. After they hung up, Hannah sat wondering if she was making a mistake. The rational part of her brain suggested proceeding with caution, yet something deeper, more intuitive, told her there was something genuine worth exploring with Jason and his daughters. The following evening, Jason's car arrived precisely at 7. This time he was waiting inside alone, dressed in a dark suit that highlighted his broad shoulders. He greeted Hannah with a warm smile that contained equal parts hope and apprehension. "You look beautiful," he said as she settled beside him. "Thank you." Hannah smoothed her burgundy dress, a splurge she rarely had occasion to wear. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere private," Jason replied, "where we can talk without interruption." The car took them across the Brooklyn Bridge into Manhattan, eventually pulling up to a nondescript building in Tribeca. Jason led her through a private entrance and into an elevator that required a key card. "My apartment," he explained, noting her questioning look. "The penthouse. I thought about a restaurant, but given what we need to discuss, privacy seemed important." The elevator opened directly into a stunning space with floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of the city. The decor was sleek but comfortable, clearly designed with children in mind, despite the luxury evident in every detail. "The girls are with their grandmother tonight," Jason said, leading her to a sitting area where a private chef was arranging an elegant dinner. "I wanted us to have uninterrupted time." After the chef discreetly departed, leaving their meal warming, Jason poured 2 glasses of wine and sat across from Hannah. "I need to start at the beginning," he said, his expression serious. "With Claire." He took a deep breath. "Claire and I met in college. She was brilliant, a financial prodigy who could see patterns in markets that others missed. We built my company together, though she stayed behind the scenes by choice. When the twins were born, she stepped back further, but she was still involved in major decisions." Hannah listened quietly, sensing this background was important. 3 years ago," Jason continued, "Claire discovered financial irregularities in our company accounts. Someone was siphoning funds, small amounts, cleverly disguised, but she noticed the pattern. She began investigating privately." His voice grew strained. The night of her accident, she called me saying she knew who was behind it and was coming home with proof. Her car went off the road on a clear night with no other vehicles involved. The police called it a tragic accident. She must have fallen asleep at the wheel. But you don't believe that, Hannah said gently. Jason's eyes met hers. I've never believed it. Claire was meticulous, careful. She never would have driven tired, especially knowing the girls were waiting for her. Did you tell the police your suspicions? Of course. They investigated but found nothing conclusive. No evidence of tampering with the car, no witnesses. And Claire's proof, whatever it was, vanished with her. Hannah felt a chill despite the warm room. You think someone deliberately caused her accident? Jason nodded grimly. I believe whoever was stealing from us eliminated the threat Claire posed. After her death, I hired private investigators. They uncovered the embezzlement scheme but couldn't conclusively link anyone to Claire's death. Did they identify who was stealing? Hannah asked. Her network of shell companies ultimately traced back to my former CFO, Robert Klein. Hannah's breath caught. Robert? The assistant who supposedly connected us through Megan. The very same, Jason confirmed. He disappeared before he could be arrested, taking millions with him. He's been in hiding ever since, presumably overseas. But what does this have to do with the twins setting us up? Jason set down his wine glass. After Robert disappeared, I became paranoid. I installed advanced security systems everywhere, limited the twins' public appearances, screened everyone who came into contact with us. He looked at her directly. When the girls showed me your picture from the magazine, claiming Megan had recommended you, I was suspicious. I had my security team check your background thoroughly. Everything came back clear. You were exactly who you appeared to be, a dedicated teacher with no connection to Robert or anyone else from my past. So you agreed to meet me, Hannah concluded. I did, Jason admitted. I was curious what angle might be at play. When I discovered the twins had engineered the whole thing, hacking my phone, creating fake texts from Megan, I was stunned. They'd never done anything like that before. They must have been very motivated, Hannah observed. Jason's expression softened. They miss having a mother figure. Since Claire died, they've rejected every woman I've considered dating. Until you. He leaned forward. I was going to cancel our date. Then I saw your picture again, really looked at it, and something made me decide to at least meet you once. When I finally arrived at the restaurant and saw you with the girls, something just clicked. Hannah felt warmth spreading through her chest. I felt it too, she admitted, even with the strange circumstances. After our date, Jason continued, I had my security team do one final exhaustive check, looking for any possible connection to Robert or the embezzlement scheme. They found nothing. Is that standard procedure for all your dates? Hannah asked, only half joking. There haven't been many, Jason replied honestly. And yes, I've been careful, probably too careful. The twins have accused me of not giving anyone a real chance. Smart girls. Too smart sometimes, he agreed with a wry smile. When Patricia told me she'd gone to see you, I was furious, then terrified you'd want nothing more to do with us. It's a lot to process, Hannah acknowledged. But I'm still here. Jason reached across the table, taking her hand in his. I need you to understand what you'd be getting into, Hannah. My life isn't normal. There are security considerations, public scrutiny, the responsibility of the twins, and there's the unresolved matter of Claire's death, a shadow that still hangs over us. Are you trying to talk me out of seeing you again? Hannah asked. I'm being realistic, he replied. You deserve to know exactly what you'd be walking into. Hannah considered his words carefully. The rational part of her brain was throwing up caution flags: billionaire widower, possible corporate murder, precocious twin daughters with hacking skills. It was a far cry from her quiet life of teaching art and feeding her cat. Yet she couldn't deny the connection she felt with Jason, or the way the twins had wormed their way into her heart in just 2 meetings. There was something genuine here, something worth exploring, despite the complications. I appreciate your honesty, she said finally. And I understand your concerns, but I'd like to see where this goes, Jason. Step by step. Relief and hope flooded his expression. He squeezed her hand gently. I'd like that too. Their dinner conversation shifted to lighter topics. The twins' latest art projects, Hannah's upcoming school exhibition, their shared love of architecture. As they talked, the connection between them deepened, comfortable and natural, despite their different worlds. After dinner, Jason gave her a tour of the apartment, including the girls' art studio, a light-filled room with professional-grade supplies and walls covered in their creative works. "They're genuinely talented," Hannah observed, studying a particularly impressive watercolor seascape. "They get that from Claire," Jason said. She was artistic too, though she rarely had time for it. In his home office, Hannah noticed the promised Van Gogh reproduction. "The girls weren't exaggerating about Starry Night," she said, admiring the piece. "It was Claire's favorite," Jason explained. The twins remembered that detail. They remember everything about her. "That's beautiful," Hannah said softly, "that you keep her memory alive for them." "I want them to know who she was," he replied. "Her brilliance, her kindness, even as they connect with someone new." His gaze held meaning, and Hannah felt a flutter of anticipation. Standing in the dim light of his office, the city sparkling beyond the windows, she felt the distance between them closing. Jason moved closer, his hand gently brushing her cheek. "I haven't felt this way in a long time," he admitted. "It's terrifying and wonderful at once." "I know exactly what you mean," Hannah whispered. When he kissed her, it felt like the most natural thing in the world, gentle at first, then deepening with shared emotion. Hannah felt herself responding, her arms encircling his neck as the kiss stretched into something profound and promising. 6 months later, Hannah stood in the doorway of the art studio in Jason's penthouse, watching the twins working intently on a new project. They had grown even closer over the months. Weekend outings, dinner dates, where the girls insisted on joining for dessert, quiet evenings helping with homework and sharing stories. Jason's security concerns had proven founded when Robert Klein was eventually located and arrested in Singapore, finally providing closure on the financial crimes, if not definitive proof about Claire's death. The news had brought a measure of peace to the Bennett household. "What are you two working on so seriously?" Hannah asked, entering the studio. The twins exchanged their secret look. "It's a surprise," Sophia answered. "For you and Daddy," Amelia added. "No peeking until it's finished." "Fair enough," Hannah agreed, kissing each girl on the top of her head. "Dinner in 20 minutes. As she turned to leave, Sophia called out, "Hannah, are you going to live here with us someday?" The directness of the question caught Hannah off guard. She and Jason had discussed their future, his cautious nature balanced by growing certainty about their relationship. Hannah had already started staying overnight on weekends, her toothbrush finding a permanent place beside his. "Would you want that?" Hannah asked carefully. "We already decided," Amelia declared. "We want you to be our new mum." "But only if you want to," Sophia added quickly. Hannah felt her heart swell. "I love you both very much," she said honestly, "and your father too. As for living here, well, that's something your dad and I are talking about." She found Jason in the kitchen, helping the private chef prepare dinner. A sight that still amused her, this powerful billionaire happily chopping vegetables. "The girls are plotting something artistic," she informed him, stealing a slice of bell pepper. "Should I be worried?" he asked with a smile. "Probably," Hannah laughed. "They said it's for both of us." Jason set down his knife and turned to her, his expression growing serious. "Speaking of things for both of us," he began, reaching into his pocket, "I had planned something elaborate involving the Children's Museum, where we had our first real date, but—" He withdrew a small velvet box. "The girls helped design it," he explained, as he opened it to reveal a stunning emerald ring surrounded by diamonds. Green, of course. Hannah's breath caught. "Jason." "I love you, Hannah," he said simply. "The twins love you. You've brought light back into our lives in a way I never thought possible. Will you marry me? Become a permanent part of our family?" Tears blurred Hannah's vision as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will." As Jason slipped the ring onto her finger, twin squeals erupted from the doorway. Sophia and Amelia raced into the kitchen, throwing their arms around both adults. "She said yes," Sophia exclaimed. "Our plan worked perfectly," Amelia declared triumphantly. Jason raised an eyebrow at Hannah over the girls' heads. "Their plan?" Hannah laughed through happy tears. "Apparently it was all part of their grand design. We knew she was perfect for us from her picture," Sophia explained. "And we were right," Amelia added with satisfaction. As Jason gathered all three of them into his arms, Hannah realized that what had begun with a blind date ambush had transformed into something remarkable. A second chance at love for Jason, a family for Hannah, and for two clever little matchmakers, the mother they had determined to find. That night, as the newly engaged couple tucked the twins into bed, Sophia asked sleepily, "Can we help plan the wedding?" "Within reason," Jason cautioned, knowing his daughter's penchant for elaborate schemes. And Hannah, Amelia murmured, already half asleep. You don't have to worry about frogs in your purse ever again, we promise. Hannah laughed softly, brushing dark curls from the child's forehead. I appreciate that. Later, standing by the windows overlooking the city, with Jason's arms wrapped around her, Hannah reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought her here. From a lonely blind date to becoming mother to twins and wife to a man she deeply loved, all because two determined 7-year-olds had decided she was the one. Penny, for your thoughts? Jason asked, pressing a kiss to her temple. I was just thinking, Hannah replied, that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most perfect endings, or, Jason suggested, turning her in his arms to face him, the most perfect beginnings. As they sealed this new promise with a kiss, Hannah knew that while their path had been unusual, their destination was exactly where she was meant to be. In this home, with this man, and the two little matchmakers sleeping down the hall who had changed all their lives forever.